Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Excuse me if I seem a little just all over the place today. It's just had a long, busy day at work, and also it is election day. Happy election day for everybody. As far as I can tell, just based on what I just saw just now, it appears that Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. Leave that discussions to you guys, but you guys already know my views, and I'm just going to leave that as, leave it there. But just to illustrate, just, where I am right now. But yeah. So I went out to check out this, and oddly enough, with bringing up the election, there's a point to bringing it up in relation to this film, in the overall context of what the film is discussing. That film that I went to see today on election day is Conclave, which was, I don't know if it was written by him, but it was directed by Edward Berger, who we've actually discussed before on this channel. He did the remake to All Quiet on the Western Front, which I found to be pretty good. And I have not seen the original one. I was told that it was like propaganda potentially. I can't speak on that, but I can speak on the one that he did, and I remember it to be pretty good. This is his next directorial effort, and the stars Ralph Fiennes as well as Stanley Tucci and John Lithgow. And as the title suggests, it is taking place within a church, and the recent Holy Father of said church has passed away, and Ralph Fiennes and Stanley Tucci's characters are fairly close to this specific figure, and Ralph Fiennes learns of his passing a little bit later than others, and once he eventually comes to the church, and they, their condolences, or they say their goodbyes and all that stuff like that, doing what they do also within the church, how to, prep in the moment of someone's death. There is a conclave that has to be made for basically an election for the next Holy Father, and Ralph Fiennes is appointed to oversee the conclave. And in appointment, he is shrouded with information, specifically from one person, about perhaps some allegations that are running about within the Holy Father's last moments alive that may or may not have connections with candidates that are running for that of the Holy Father's position. And in that, Ralph Fiennes intercepts and investigates each candidate and looks at the authenticity of their character, basically, and finds damning pieces that prove to have repercussions if these people get elected. And ultimately what the film turns into what is basically bathing in, is that of a study of agendas, and within those agendas, the gray area of their mortality, or the leaning of the white and black scenario, where a person is very, very flawed, or a person is perhaps a little bit more understanding in their respect, but to give the film more color, it is basically that of showing flaws within each candidate, and their what's the word I'm looking for? Their unqualified just aura of getting such a prestigious and honorable position. And the film explores that about, like I said, about agendas. And again, very oddly timely to watch this, with election day happening today, and with the film bathing in that of literally that of an election. It's, I think incredibly timely to watch something, incredibly timely, but also, again, very oddly timely, because again, I didn't have any context whatsoever. I saw one trailer and thought it was very interesting, but I didn't get the impression at first that it was that of an election. And then getting into it, and then really understanding about what this film was looking to explore, it was just really, really odd in the timing of it. I think very deliberate, and also in the release of this film, because I believe it came out a week prior. So very deliberate in its release. But But in talking about the film itself, I think that there are a lot of interesting elements to it. Firstly, I think that the exploration of its themes, I think, to be very, very enticing. I think that this exploration of showing you the flaw within everybody's, philosophies, or within just them, as people, I think is very, very enticing and very informative, again, within its study of agendas and flaws and power, greed, their motivations within said agendas. I think it's very, very enticing in how the film wishes to explore that, and that it kind of just rather observational in terms of its approach, in that we are viewing it kind of through Ralph Fiennes, where Ralph Fiennes is kind of placed in this position, and us as the audience, we are also placed in that position where we are just basically observing things, seeing how Stanley Tucci's character is, seeing how John Lithgow's character is, and getting a certain impression, and that the film is saying this is how you should feel about this character. It's, let us examine this circumstance, let us investigate, let us look through things, let's do our own research and look into this further, and then make it an actual impression of said person, or make an actual claim about said individual. So it's a film that is not, it's not a film that is dictating. It's a film that is explorative, and I very much appreciate that. And I think that it works to the film's benefit greatly. And to match that, I think the performances are just great. I think Ralph Fiennes, I think, is terrific in this. I really, really can tell the inner conflict that is playing there within his, with what's happening underneath. You get to see the anxiety. You can also see the uncertainty, which, by the way, a really great speech in the film about certainty and that dissection of that, with certainty and doubt. And, that's that, just the sinful act of being such a certain, very assertive and very just, direct. There's a need for doubts. There's a need for a willingness to see another way, and not just your own. I love that, and that's a compliment towards the writing, I must say, because stuff like that, I think, is just rich and detailed, very philosophical, but I also, again, extremely informative and very complimentary towards its thematic study. And just to bring it back again, the performances, again, also elevate that. They just give so much meat to the circumstance, so much depth, especially Ralph Fiennes. Again, what he does on screen is just so, like, there's a level of commitment, but also a convincing portrait of a man who is just at odds. He's just struggling to figure out his place within the political conspiracy, and ultimately trying to stay on the outside and not become involved with one side over the other, and just trying to weave his way, trying to find the purity, trying to find that purity. And when the film does eventually find its purity, because, as it stands, what the film is, wishing to explore is, again, that of, like I said, about people who are inherently flawed and are not applicable or should be considered for such a prestigious and, important position. For the latter of that, someone who is pure of heart, someone who is worthy of such a thing. When the film does get to that answer, because the film plays on two different narratives. For there's a forefront, which is this is about the election, about the film as it is titled Conclave. But as the background it is an investigation, it is a mystery about what had happened at those last moments with this Holy Father figure, and how that informs the forefront element. And a lot of the time the film is wishing to examine the background and how it feeds to the forefront. And the forefront, though, as it is kind of left to a circle of just really doubt, and that there is no, firm vote, there is no firm this, there's no this and that. and instead what happens is that the film, I feel, just finds, like, it establishes and concludes its background, but when we get to that forefront, it's as if the film just goes, okay, well, now we need to figure out a way how to make this move somehow, and they do something that I feel is in just what it is, I think, very interesting, and in a quite literal sense, a balance, and in how it plays to the manner of the church, their whole belief system. It's a very, very challenging type of ending, and I think it's a very, very informative one also. But how we get to that point, I feel, is a bit of a jump, because we go from a person making a speech to then said person becoming the supreme, becoming the head, and as I mentioned about backgrounds, this is a background element. It's very much a background element. Not even to where it plays as a secondary story plot. It's just something that is buried in the background to then just boom in the front, and it just doesn't feel as earnest as getting to that point. The actual, stuff that we get to see after that, I think, is very fascinating, but I just think that overall progression is very, very thin, and I wish that it was fleshed out a little bit more to where I can see that person literally winning and also having an earnest, moment in that regard. It just feels a little deflated because of the lack of progression in that regard. But it's a minor thing, because as it stands, I think thematically speaking, just how it explores its ideas, I think it is a very, very interesting piece with very compelling performances. I think Ralph Fiennes is very great in this, and again, an incredibly oddly timely film. I think that it does, it's not a film that, and how Stanley Tucci's character kind of preaches to choose a side. The film really doesn't do that, and I love that. I love that it doesn't just go, hey, we have to do this, or we have to do that. It's a film that just allows these beliefs to exist and for them to flourish. And ultimately, in what the film is wanting to bear as an identity, is about that of just examination, about just viewpointing of the flaws of all of these philosophies and the flaws within these agendas, and within these points being made, the voices themselves, these people, the flaws of these individuals, and why it's so that they perhaps are not worthy of such a prestigious position. So I think it's a very, very interesting piece, and again, very great performances to supplement it, and writing wise also very good as well. Written with just quite an elegancy, and with a layered philosophy, a sense of philosophy that I feel is also incredibly informative, and again, very complimentary. So generally speaking, I think it's a very good piece, and you do feel the tension, you do feel that sense of paranoia that's embedded within Ralph Fiennes' character, like that, again, that uncertainty of what is potentially going to happen. It's all present, and it's all welcomed, and very earned, as in my opinion. So I think it's a very good piece, and there's a lot of great elements there. I just wish that the point of when we get to the ending, the leap to that end, I just feel is not needed. I feel I wish it was more of a straight line and not a little hill, a little bump, a little jump that does end up happening. So, but yeah, generally very good piece, and mainly a lot to do in its exploration of its themes, in that it's just letting it be, and in that is what it is about. It is an examination of agendas, and what those agendas, how those agendas form, or perhaps just pretty much define the individual itself. Perhaps they are evil, perhaps they are corrupt, perhaps they are morally correct, but inherently, just with what they are doing, they are all flawed, and how they are executing their ideas or executing their objectives, they are all flawed. And I love that the film doesn't make a point to say, this is the purity. This is like when the person they choose, even then there is a sense of doubt, in that, there is, again, as I said, there's a challenge that is kind of presented at the end, and I love that, and again, there's still that sense of doubt that is there. So I think it's very, like I said, just very, very good and just very informative, and a very, very carefully made piece on such ideas. And for the most part, I thought it was very, very good. And I had a really, really tense but very enjoyable time with it. So those are my thoughts on Conclave. I thought it was pretty good. I really enjoyed the performances, and I really enjoyed its overall just manner and delivery of its ideas. Just pretty good. So you guys, what are your thoughts on Conclave? If you guys have seen it, your guys' thoughts on Edward Berger as a filmmaker. All Quiet on the Western Front is one of his films, right? Or was that his directorial debut? Just remind me, because I want to say it's his directorial debut, but I could be wrong. I remember enjoying that quite a bit. But you guys let me know your thoughts on that as well, if you guys have seen that film. And yeah, let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.